What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp here, managing editor of Fightful.com. It is September 18th. This is the Fightful.com podcast. We got lots of stuff for you, not only tonight, but all this week. Of course, we have the Holy Smokes MMA podcast tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, where we will be covering UFC Pittsburgh, previewing UFC Fight Night Japan, but also the SmackDown post-show tomorrow night. We have the Listen Your Boy on Wednesday, talking all kinds of craziness. But also this week, Ring of Honor, Death Before Dishonor coverage Friday night, UFC Japan coverage Friday night, Bellator coverage Saturday night, and then WWE No Mercy on Sunday night with a post-show podcast. Keep it locked to Fightful.com. We have tons of features, tons of articles, working to make a few posting changes, have a new writer on staff as well. Lots of stuff to look for at Fightful.com. Also be announcing a contest on the list and your boy this Wednesday afternoon. But for now, I am joined by one Alex Pawlowski. Alex, my traveling days are over, and I imagine you are excited about that.
It is good to have you back at the helm of this ship. I was able to avoid almost all the icebergs, so I think we're good. We're moving on.
How ironic that I took my wife to a Titanic museum in Orlando.
That's perfect. So
we got Monday Night Raw to talk about, but there's obviously some stuff that has went on. Bobby the Brain Heenan, arguably the greatest color commentator, arguably the greatest manager of all time, passed away yesterday. He had a long battle with cancer. From what I was told, the last 3 weeks have been very, very hard on Bobby and his family. His health, which was already obviously not good, went in a steep decline about 3 weeks ago, and it unfortunately didn't recover. WWE remembered Bobby Heenan. You had tons of wrestlers tweeting about it, which we posted on Fightful.com. Alex, what did you think of WWE's honor, how they honored Bobby the Brain Heenan?
Well, it was really interesting because you think about how Twitter has kind of changed everything. And it's really easy and effective to be able to just go through your Twitter feed and find all of these things that people are posting about Bobby the Brain Heenan and then post that as kind of montage. But before, you would have had to, contact them and ask them to say a few words and then write it down and all this stuff, but it's all right out there. So they utilize that to be able to get all of that out there. Now, if Brain had died on a Tuesday or a Wednesday and they had this whole week to put up something, I think it might have been more spectacular. As it was.
It seems like that's the way it always happens, too, is it happens the day before.
It really does. As it was, since they were pressed for time, starting out with the placard memory of Bobby the Brain Heenan, I thought they could have done a 10-bell salute for this guy. To me, he was like, as you said, in my mind, he was not only the best manager of all time, but he was also the best color commentator of all time. That's incredible that he had that kind of a career. For me, he meant a lot to me because I came up watching Nitro. That was how I really got started, and he made Nitro worth watching. He hated being there, and it was so obvious, and it was so much fun to just watch his contempt for the whole situation.
I mean, there would be times when Pillman would go mess with him, and he would curse. It's funny that one of probably his most memorable call of all time, if not the Ric Flair call, was one that WCW didn't want him to make when Hulk Hogan walked to the ring at Bash at the Beach, and Heenan, who famously hated Hulk Hogan, immediately goes, "Whose side is he on?"
No.
And I loved it because after that, the years of hating Hogan, he was vindicated. Heenan was vindicated after all those years.
Yeah.
I knew he was a no-good son of a bitch this whole time. I've been the good guy.
He was the bad. All along. You got to listen to Bobby. He knows. Yeah, no, I love the guy. One of my favorite moments of all of his career is this great moment where he's back behind the desk with Tenay and Shivani, and Nash and Hall show up behind the desk. And he tries to escape by climbing over the desk towards the camera and gets both of his legs caught in the headset cables and just winds up on the desk, like kind of rolling around trying to get free. He was a comedic mastermind. I loved watching him do everything that he did, and but the package they put together at the end of the last hour was really, really great. It was really well put together. I loved that.
I'll never forget seeing him bid farewell to Gorilla Monsoon on WCW TV. That was heartbreaking. I've brought this up on the podcast about probably 10 times at this point. Obviously, his health would not have allowed him to continue as a color commentator because just a few years after he appeared, or after he last appeared on WCW, he was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, and his voice, his famous voice, had already taken a toll. But it's weird to think that at 56 years old, Bobby the Brain Heenan, the greatest of all time, was deemed too old for WWF. And we got Jerry Lawler still poking around on occasion at 68. And, it's the same thing with anything, like how when wrestlers would hit 39 or 40, they'd be looked like they were going out to pasture. And now we got Jericho and AJ Styles in their 40s, doing great work. It's a shame that mentality wasn't used a little bit sooner, because maybe we could have gotten some more out of Bobby Heenan as well. Cancer sucks, man, and it robbed us of a great person, a great personality. Can you imagine what a Bobby the Brain Heenan podcast would be like?
Oh,
jeez, man.
So many things to say. Can you imagine the stories he had about Andre the Giant?
Yeah, that nobody else would have.
Volumes of stuff to talk about. Just that. Oh, man.
We will be talking more about Bobby the Brain Heenan on the SmackDown show, on the Listen Your Boys show this week. Be sure to tune into those. Now, I'm not going to go into too much on this Impact GFW thing because it's a topic that Jimmy loves to discuss on Wednesdays.
We got to talk about this thing. They're running a venue that looks like a damn airplane hangar. It's huge. There's no way they could possibly fill it.
It's only it only seats 500.
Oh, well, maybe I was looking at a completely different photo.
It looks like an airplane hangar.
Okay, but it only seats
if the airplane was a micro machine. It does look like one, though.
Okay, fine. Maybe I was it was an optical illusion. It looks like you could fit a damn B-52 bomber in there from the picture that I looked at. It's cavernous. But that's fine. Great. Because they're not going to be able to fill it either way. And they're doing it, as you said to me, in November in Ottawa. It's just good. I hope that place is good heat.
You look at it and you're like, ooh, that's just flimsy. Yeah. That's just flimsy. Oh my God.
And who knows if they're actually GFW anymore.
They're not. They didn't refer to GFW at all in the press release they sent me. I reached out to their PR, which did not get back to me.
Of course not.
But then sent out the press release to me that I already had. The same person that I reached out to didn't reply to the question, but sent the press release in which instigated the question I asked him in the first place.
Yeah, yes. This should answer the question that you already had.
Yes. So that's what's up. Of course, me and Jimmy are going to talk about it Wednesday on the Listen You Boy podcast. If you all missed myself and Carlos on Saturday night, I did do a podcast from Orlando covering Triple G and Canelo with Carlos. Carlos carried that thing. He is the man when it comes to boxing. Check that out, and his boxing newsletter that drops every Thursday morning. Also, one last plug before we move on to Monday Night Raw. I wrote an article about the late Billy Robinson. His birthday was today. He was instrumental in training tons of people that came up through AWA, also Shayna Baszler, Josh Barnett, Kazushi Sakuraba. I wrote about that and shared some photos. So if you all wouldn't mind, go check that out. It was an article that I revised from several years ago when he passed, and I thought it would be a good read now that I'm actually at a site where people read things, and back then I wasn't. But yeah, please check that out, of course. And head over to our forums, the Fightful.com forums. I will be starting a contest on Wednesday. Go over there, get active on those because that does play a role. We're going to be giving stuff away nonstop at Fightful.com now. Now we got Monday Night Raw, and as we go through each of these segments, myself and Alex will be making predictions for WWE No Mercy, which is a loaded card. Like, just a stacked show. Alex, I want to ask you, what did you think of this Raw all-encompassing as a go-home show?
I can't wait to watch the kickoff show for No Mercy and see half of this Raw again. You know, like, it's fine. Like, it is what it is. The triple threat tag match, which we'll get to, seemed like it lasted for 45 minutes. It seemed like they were trying to fill some time. But you know, without Brock and without Cena, like, in the building, there wasn't a whole lot they could give you except for Roman versus Braun again. And if they did that, I'd be like, why are these men fighting each other when they have much more important matches to fight 6 days from now? So I totally get what all of this was. And the stuff that we did get, some of it was really great. But yeah, it did seem like they were like, okay, we're all back from Australia and everyone's really tired. What are we going to do tonight?
Yeah, it definitely did seem like it. I thought it was really hit or miss as it pertains to eventful things that really mattered. Guys, leave us a thumbs up, subscribe, iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube. That stuff helped. Turn the notifications on. I posted a bunch of NXT taping videos today. I will talk a little bit about that at the end of the show. No spoilers. Don't worry about that. Monday Night Raw. It started off with The Miz interrupting Kurt Angle, going off on him for being a deadbeat dad. And I really hope Miz makes this his goal because, Alex, I won't pretend like I didn't see a change in your persona as it pertains to some things when you found out you were going to be a father.
Oh, yeah.
It changes you, right?
It absolutely does. Yeah. So
I hope that Miz really takes it personally that Kurt Angle was a deadbeat dad.
Yes. Yes. He should.
Which continues the Miz's thing of, like, he's an asshole, but the motivation is sincere. Sure. Like, it's a good thing.
Yes. Here's the greatest tragedy of the Miz not being on SmackDown anymore. His entire feud with Daniel Bryan could be over who's the best dad. Like, that would be just epic. Just him talking about how Daniel Bryan isn't parenting correctly because of whatever, this article that he read in some parenting website. But I do love that he's treating Kurt Angle as a new dad, because to Jason Jordan he is. And I thought this is great. The Miz is a goddamn treasure.
He is.
He just passed the Honky Tonk Man on the list of most collective days as Intercontinental Champion. I hope when it's all said and done that he has that record, and it's a huge cushion because that's a great way of saying, okay, listen, you were never really our top guy, but you anchored this part of us, for years, and that's really great because some of the stuff that he does, no one else can do. They just can't. He's so good at what he does.
I think he will because ultimately I think that record is held by Pedro Morales, and I think it's 619 days. So that'd be about 5 or 6 more collective months throughout his career that he holds that title. And he's probably doing that. He's probably tying or breaking Chris Jericho's record too. Yeah. Because that's, for Jericho, I don't think that record is important. 9 Intercontinental title reigns because he's done everything.
Right.
I mean, Jericho is one of the most decorated wrestlers of all time. Like, he's up there with Angle and Edge and for people who have held like almost everything. So I think that would be good for The Miz too. And The Miz always has the I was a WrestleMania headliner and one there to go into. Jason Jordan comes out, calls his dad Kurt. So they're not on the dad-son basis yet.
No, it's very progressive. It's very progressive that he calls his father Kurt. You know what I mean? No, it's okay. You can call me Kurt.
So Kurt Angle had announced a fatal four-way match to determine the top contender for the Intercontinental title. It would have had Elias, Jeff, Matt Hardy, Jason Jordan. Jordan demanded that the Miz Taraj be included too. So if I'm like Elias and all those guys and the Hardys, I'm pissed. Nobody mentioned a thing.
No.
Now, I was hoping that the six-pack challenge would have just been the whole field preventing Bo Dallas and Axel from letting each other pin one another.
Yeah.
Because, they could have set up the whole situation. Like, Miz could have individually given them title shots.
We'll talk about the whole match, but there's one spot that I absolutely would have said you have to include this in the booking of the match if I was in charge. Everyone else winds up on the outside, and it's just Bo and Kurt. And they do paper, rock, scissors for it. And the guy who loses lays down, the other guy gets on top of him, and then somebody comes in and breaks up the pin. Like, these guys should be Miz's great comedy sidekicks. Because we already see them as that, and they should be his henchmen. His bumbling, evil henchmen. So I was disappointed they didn't do that in the match itself, but I love me some Bo Dallas shiny gold jacket and oversized gold chain. I love it.
Backstage, Kurt gives Jason Jordan a talking to about flying off the handle when people talk about him and look at him. Jordan's still really, really wooden, Alex.
Yeah, no, he is. He did the thing where he kind of had to look off camera to like, okay, I finished that paragraph, and the next paragraph to say is this. Now I'm going to start talking, and I look back at Kurt. Like that was his interior monologue, and it's just not. Listen. The guy spent a long time at NXT, so I'm not going to give him any like he's just fresh off the boat. But his entire time up in WWE, they weren't giving him promos to do. It was just him and Chad Gable having matches every now and then.
And sometimes it wasn't because they weren't on TV for a long time.
Right. So to like, okay, now here's these promos with fire and nuance, and you love your new dad, but you really hate the Miz and all this stuff. Like, these are hard things for
as opposed to his old dad. Right. Fuck him.
Fuck that guy. These are hard things to like give an actor, like a professional actor, on the fly and just say, okay, here's all this range of emotion you have to play. Go. That's difficult. My favorite part of this whole backstage thing was Kurt Angle going, listen, some people are going to talk about me and they're going to talk about you. And I just want him to say, so let's give him something to talk about. Like I wanted Elias to walk by and break into that song, like some of the lines they give these guys to say. I just feel like, oh man, we'll
definitely be talking about that later. Nia Jax defeated Alexa Bliss. This is really old school style begging off from Alexa. There's this great part where she's like, okay, listen, and then she runs. She just darts out of the ring. Sasha stops her. I don't know why she's running away from Sasha, knowing that Nia is going to be behind her. Test your luck with Sasha.
The reason is because it gives us that visual of her running from Sasha directly into Nia. That's it.
Which was a good visual. It was a fantastically produced visual.
Yes.
She got runned over.
Yep.
We come back from the break. Nia wins with a Samoan drop. This was solid stuff. Nia is improving every week in the ring. That I can appreciate. Nia continues an attack. And Bayley's back. Bayley returns. Fights off Nia and Alexa, who is just so good at these little things.
Yep.
Gets in the middle of Sasha and Bayley and like raises their hands and has the most genuinely thrilled look on her face. And gets her ass kicked by Bayley and Sasha. Douches?
My favorite part of that whole thing after the match was the triple spear on Nia, which I had never seen before. I've seen a lot of double spears, but never a triple one. So that was really fun. I love her raising her arms and getting her asses kicked, but you're right. Like, I always feel like when a heel has just done something heelish, like let's say within the segment or the match that you're doing, then by all means, feel free to give them their comeuppance. But Bayley and Sasha are pissed at Alexa for shit she did weeks ago. And they're just expecting us to all go like, oh, yeah, she totally deserves it. Remember
they're
that
hanging
thing?
out with Charlotte at the Mae Young Classic and stuff. Like,
right, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. Alexa is naturally tiny. She's tiny, so she's going to look like she's getting picked on, even if she's the heel. It was nice to see Bayley back. I'm assuming that Emma just said, "I'm going to stick around in Australia and hang out with my family for a while." But not seeing Emma on TV at all tonight made me go, did they replace her with Bayley? And I saw later, no, they didn't. They just added Bayley to it. And I was like, oh, well, that kind of sucks for Emma. Like, Emma's getting more and more marginalized in this whole thing.
Her being in this match, I think, is a major step up anyway, because I didn't see that happening a couple months ago. And we later find out that Bayley was added to that match. And then they showed a tweet from Emma, and I really dig the integration of the Emma gimmick, because she doesn't have to be on TV to continue her gimmick. And that's pretty fantastic, because that's something on SmackDown we see them do very well of late. Like Kevin Owens encounters Aiden English singing and like admires him as he says, "You're going to be singing our theme song soon."
Right.
And because of that, he doesn't have to wrestle. Sami Zayn doesn't have to wrestle. He just interacts with Kevin Owens. Emma doesn't have to wrestle. She doesn't have to do a promo. They can flash a tweet up there, and that is furthering her gimmick, which is pretty damn cool. I think that's neat.
Something I just thought of was that her gimmick as Emelina was supposed to be this social media maven. She was an Instagram model, but now she's a Twitter shit talker. But she's still doing a social media gimmick. So basically, Emelina is still alive somewhere in there. It's just a different iteration.
Who's winning this match at No Mercy? We got Bayley, Sasha Banks, Nia Jax, Alexa Bliss, Emma.
Okay. Honestly, the person that I feel has the least chance of winning is Alexa Bliss. Just from a storyline perspective. Because you can put this thing finally on Nia Jax and see what happens, especially with Asuka coming up. Because if you say Nia Jax beat these four other women and maybe like really handily beat them, and then you give her a few weeks on Raw of just smashing all comers, and then Asuka shows up and takes her down. Now, does that hurt Nia? Yeah, but it also builds Asuka immediately for an audience that doesn't know her, maybe not. Also, Bayley or Sasha can win, but they have to get the pin on the other one, because that furthers that story, and that's a story that needs to be told. Also, Emma, to be purely a transitional champ, so she can come out and talk shit, and then Asuka shows up and one kicks her to become champ. Like something like that. But Alexa, like the story for Alexa is that if she loses, she gets to complain. Everyone was in this match. I didn't even have to get pinned. I didn't get pinned, and I still lost. You can further that with her character.
Yeah, I would love if Asuka did the Emma thing. Well, I would love for Emma just to get a run, but even if it's a couple days or one day or whatever, but you can run the gamut with Asuka. Like she beats Sasha, she beats Bayley, she beats Alexa, because as we saw in NXT. Man, she toes that line between babyface and heel very well. Like, she can make it work no matter what.
And the vignettes they're running for her, like this, the thing about it is that's really cool is that mask thing that they're using in all the vignettes. Like, I keep saying this, she ran this great stuff back in Japan where she would come out with the mask, take the mask off, and she'd be made up to look like some horror clown. And this is the thing with it being a giant thing right now, like somebody's like, hey, Vince, clowns are scary. Asuka's got this clown thing in her past. Why would we run that? Everyone likes clowns now. Halloween, like something like that could be in the works where we all think it's Asuka from NXT that's going to show up, and she does, but she takes off the mask and it's a completely different kind of character.
I would love that transition. That's a fantastic idea. Also news today, Paige at the WWE Performance Center looking to get cleared. Now, personally, there are some people who think that maybe they're angling towards Emma and Paige. It's not anything I've heard. It's just something that I've been tweeted a lot by fans and stuff like that. That would make sense. In my opinion, you got to throw her on SmackDown. You got to have her on SmackDown.
Yeah. No, if you're bringing Asuka to Raw, to bring Asuka and Paige within weeks of each other to there, like it's already a logjam. Like Emma's being gifted a bone to be in this match. And like, it's just like, here we go. Like, here you go. We'll throw you this thing. You can be in there. I mean, for all we know, she could be completely inconsequential in this fatal 5-way, and then they'll bury her again. Not bury her, but like, we won't see her on TV for weeks. Like we haven't for months. So you can't say that somebody as talented as Emma is there and not being utilized, and then all of a sudden throw 2 more women in the mix. Meanwhile, over on SmackDown, I do not care about Natalya. I don't. So you put somebody in that picture over there that'll make me care about it, because you're keeping Charlotte and Becky off TV, for Christ's sakes.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Had Charlotte and Becky not been off TV for so long, and they were in some sort of program with Natalya, you'd feel a little bit different. But it's Carmella who. Her whole thing is that she isn't on the level.
Right.
And then Naomi, who they've tried to portray as being on the level, but stumbles so often in doing so. With Paige, it's been so long since she was marginalized that maybe she'll stand a better chance. But one thing I wonder is, how will she look after neck surgery? Because that's a big question mark.
Right. Even if she's cleared to come back, like her neck is well enough to do it, I still think she should take a couple of months and get in really good shape, like and get some muscle mass back on or whatever, to like get into a place where if she's not been working out as much as she used to be, then maybe that would be good for her too. I also think she's ready made to come back as a heel.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Just to come back for a big baby face pop and then squash it by turning on somebody that the fans love, because she could have a very easily. A lot of, if not imagined, then then real gripes against the company. She feels like you kept me out longer than you should have, or you treated me unfairly, whatever. Because we all saw that stuff. You can easily bring up film from that season of Total Divas where she was really upset with the company and use that.
Yeah, they should. And we've never. I could be wrong. Somebody please tweet me. But nobody comes to mind as having. From a female perspective in WWE, working a real extended full-time schedule after neck surgery. Lita came back, and she did for brief periods of time, but it was never longer than I think 6 or 7 months at a time. So that's a big question mark too. Paige still super young, man. That's the thing, man. She's 25, so we'll see how that goes. Sheamus and Cesaro defeated the Good Brothers and Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. This did not need to be a 36-minute segment and did not need to be an 18-minute match. Cesaro and Sheamus cut a promo that droned on. A lot of tag teams, Alex, need comedy to stay relevant. I don't think Ambrose and Rollins are one of them. They can use it, but I don't think they need it. Meanwhile, the Good Brothers do and are very, very good at it, but they're heels, so if you laugh at them, you're kind of a dick.
Right.
But they have so many catchy different things that they say.
Listen, the Good Brothers are baby faces now. I'm sorry to say it, but if they're nothing else, they're tweeners. They're brawling baby faces. You can easily make them the new APA. You could do it in 2 seconds. Like they're these guys who beat up anybody that you ask them to. They could be swilling beer and smoking cigars and playing poker in the back with a door frame. You could go the whole 9 yards. But they come out and they go like, who you guys are? And they make the crowd wait for it. Nerds! Like that's a babyface thing. I know they're being bullies, but still the crowd loves it. They eat it up. The one thing I do love, and yes, you're right, Ambrose and Rollins don't need the comedy, but I kind of like Rollins playing the guy who can't control his tag partner. Like when Ambrose, like, oh no, now you done it. Now you done it. And Ambrose reacts to being called a nerd the way Marty McFly reacts to being called a chicken. I think that's funny. And you could make it work. It doesn't need to be all the time, and they don't need to work comedy bits in ring. But I think as characters, that could be fun.
A match breaks out. Not much of note happens until the Cesaro swing into the barricade on Ambrose. The Good Brothers come really close to winning with their finish, but a well-produced Ambrose save keeps that from happening. I didn't see the save coming from anywhere. I mean, I got the feeling it was coming.
Right.
Because here's the thing. There's nothing real bad about this match. It's just 6 days before a pay-per-view, and you could tell it didn't really mean anything unless the Good Brothers won and added themselves to it or claimed like a future title shot. Instead, it was pretty easy to tell they were there to eat the pin, and that happened when Cesaro and Sheamus stole one. What did you think of the match? Who do you think wins Sunday?
I lost interest in the match because what you said, like, if the Good Brothers had won and when they hit the Magic Killer on Seth, I was like, oh, that would be fun. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're setting this thing up for the future, oh, nope. And then I was like, well, I'm kind of out of this now, which is too bad because you've given the longest match of the night into something that really has no meaning to it. So, whatever. It was fine. There were some good points to it. Some whatever. I think they're going to keep the titles on Seth and Ambrose because they're a huge fan favorite. And it's a really easy way to get a pop, especially in the middle of this thing where who knows where the crowd's going to be reacting to certain things that happen for the rest of the night. It's a really easy way to like keep the baby faces rolling on the night. And I don't think this needs to be the end of Sheamus and Cesaro challenging for it either, because I anticipate this match could be really, really good on Sunday, like steal the show level of good.
Yeah, I think it could be great too. Let me ask you, I'm going with Rollins Ambrose too. Do you think we get those two and Roman Reigns teaming at Survivor Series, probably with two other guys?
Yeah, that way it wouldn't be I mean, if you did it that way, you'd have to be like a 5-on-5, and the Shield is 3 of the 5 guys.
You go from Shield 0.66 to Shield 1.66.
Yeah,
if my math is correct.
Yeah. I think that could be fun. I don't know. I honestly don't know what the plans are for Survivor Series. If it's going to be another one where you're going to have Survivor Series matches. You know what I mean? Like all these things are going to be which I loved last year. Yeah. But it seems to me that you're going to have one big one-on-one match to close the night. And I don't know where you go in that case. But yeah, sure. More Shield stuff. Nostalgia for people who think that 3 years ago was a long time.
They've done 4-on-4. They've done 5-on-5. I mean, 1 year they made Survivor Series just mean, like an elimination match, things like that. To me, there are a few matches in wrestling more exciting than a Survivor Series match with honest-to-God stakes.
Yes.
Because it's like 45, 50 minutes, and you see finishers throughout the whole thing. You're going to see at least 5 pinfalls, like real pinfalls in the match. So I think they're going to be good. John Cena is advertised for that Survivor Series. Because I can see them, John Cena with the Shield type of thing. They love to do that type of stuff.
Oh, man. They do. Or John Cena's team versus Roman Reigns' team. They could do that thing through it. You know what I mean?
Imagine if he could pick anybody in the WWE one, any 4 guys, and the people he picked were the Usos, Ambrose, and Rollins. I'm gonna watch it, and then John Cena picks Alex Riley, but and like Tyler Rex and people like that, Wade Barrett, all the people that. That would be something if he picked Zack Ryder and Dolph Ziggler and The Miz and all these people.
Funny. Super meta. Everybody that he's buried over the years are his partners.
Yeah.
Rusev, Bray, everybody.
Backstage, The Miz is giving the Miz Taraj a motivational speech. The Miz Taraj both bring up their pedigrees, which is a nice touch. But what I love most is that Bo referenced his old gimmick saying, I used to do this for a living, giving motivation speeches. We get video packages to promote Cena, Reigns, Lesnar, Braun. Later, interviews with Braun and Brock Lesnar. Braun is not a sit-down interview guy. As we see later, he gets over by tearing shit up. Very well. He's fed the instruction to re-ask the question posed to him. That's annoying. Lesnar interrupts Heyman, who does his usual spiel, and cut a good, succinct promo about being backed in the corner, and that's how he does best. Then says he's going to take Strowman to Suplex City. How do you think that match goes on Sunday?
I think Brock wins, but it's not clean. I think they're going to protect Strowman, but I don't think they're going to put the title on him because I'm a cynic, and I don't think they're going to make the right call and put the title on the monster that is organically over with the crowd. They need to. This guy is he's a friggin' star. And I mean, when you say yes, he was fed the thing like, let's, ask the question that they just answered to yourself, whatever. But the rest of it, like, I thought he was very natural. He was very intimidating. He held his own. Like, he doesn't do a lot of these because he hasn't been asked to. But if he's gonna get to a point where he's can do these sit down interview things for a few more years, I think he's gonna have a real knack for it. He's a star in every sense of the word, and the right thing to do is to make him the champion and have him hold it until WrestleMania. And then you'll probably have Roman Reigns beat him for it because you're going to do that. But that should be the guy, not Brock, who's going to leave for several months. You should put the title on Braun, and he should be unstoppable until next April. But I don't think they're going to do that. So my prediction is Brock. But keeping Braun protected, my hope is that Braun wins and wins emphatically.
As do I. I think it is the time. Shove all the bottle rockets up his ass and watch him go to the moon. Just go crazy.
Yep.
He's over. What he's doing is over.
Yes.
So if you were to make him champion, he's still got to tear shit up.
But yeah, you
let
can't
him rip the
change it.
belt in half for all I care.
Yeah. Yeah.
This belt's ugly as shit. Rip it in half. Whatever. Instead, he's got like a title made of wood or something.
He forges it out of steel.
Yes, that he in turn comes out and bashes over the ring post every single week and forces them to create a new one. Like, it is time for him. Brock Lesnar is the person to put him over. And from what we've seen, Brock Lesnar can do one hell of a job at putting Braun Strowman over.
Yeah.
And really making anybody look good if he likes them. I talked about how right after the show, Great Balls of Fire, he loved working with Samoa Joe, and it showed in that ring. This is the guy. This is the person who should have beaten Brock Lesnar in 30 seconds. Yeah. Braun Strowman is.
Yeah.
And that's, while, we've calmed down a bit since the Goldberg match.
We have. And that was fun, but long term it did nothing. Like, I don't Goldberg.
It got a good WrestleMania match. That's cool.
Yes, that was fun and that was cool. But that was in April, and now it is September, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But if Braun had gone over Brock along the way, it would really, really matter right now. You know what I mean? And that's a difference. That's the thing, is that the reason that I said that Goldberg winning over Brock in that quick of a time period ended wrestling, because I was like, because now you have no vision for the future. When you put over a guy who's 50, I mean, how long could he possibly stick around? It turned out he stuck around for a few more months, and that was it.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? If they could talk Goldberg into it, I would have him come back this Survivor Series and lose to Braun in 30 seconds. That's the way I would rectify that if I were them.
Yeah.
Now it's Goldberg, so
probably not.
We'll give you $20 million. I can't do it. My kid, man. Like one of those. Oh, God. My only note about the Hardy Boys promo is they write really shitty stuff for the Hardy Boys.
Yeah, they do.
Yep.
Yeah,
also, the Asuka teasers, there's no reason for just one women's program when she gets there. Got to do more.
No. Yep.
Kurt Hawkins says that his Star Factory is over and he's ending his losing streak. This is kind of a fun promo. Brings out Apollo. Apollo beats him. It's their 6th televised singled match in the past year. So we've seen this a lot, but just a way to get Apollo on TV, and they acknowledge the losing streak, Alex.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if you want to know how desperate they were for things to fill time, Kurt Hawkins had a match on Raw. You know, like, okay.
As if the 38-minute segment or 36-minute tag team segment wasn't enough.
Right. Okay, fine. That's cool. I'm glad they acknowledge the losing streak, and now it's a thing of like, who's gonna be the one to lose and break the streak. That's kind of cute. Yeah. And you watch it, and Apollo Crews does great stuff, and is very good in the ring. And if you're not having some kind of a storyline beyond, we all like Titus worldwide, and that's it, then, you know, it's not really going to move beyond that. All their stuff they did at the Australia Zoo over the weekend was really fun. These guys are great on social media, but I don't know how many people actually see that stuff.
Yeah. We had a forum topic the other day, somebody saying, what kind of tournament could WWE do next? And I pointed at like Apollo, Titus, and Tozawa, and I said, I would love for them to do like a trios tournament and have some sort of cool stakes at the end there too, and use main roster guys, because you can make a lot of fun stuff happen. You could rekindle a lot of things there. You could bring in a Nexus stable, or, you know, of people, like, just do that. Roman Reigns comes out for a promo, drops the shit bomb on air.
Yeah.
Not like a literal turd or anything.
No.
He said he took offense to Cena saying that Reigns is the next Cena. And he said, I don't look like John Cena, and if I did, I'd be fired like Alex Riley.
Oh, yeah.
Damn, man.
Shots fired.
I'm usually against people throwing to clips, but then Roman threw to a clip of Cena criticizing The Rock for being a part-timer. Mm-hmm. And then he says, the only difference is this time it'll be a different Samoan kicking his ass.
Yeah.
This is like, you can't. If I see you claiming that Roman Reigns is a babyface, people, I'm gonna go to poopsenders.com and mail you the gorilla poop. That's what's gonna happen. I am that petty. I am that immature. In fact, this is not a babyface Roman Reigns. It has not been since February.
No.
And there ain't nothing babyface about that shitty shirt that he wears on TV every week. It's one of the ugliest damn things I've ever seen.
It really is. And the problem is that that shirt is for children.
Yeah.
Children think that shirt is cool. And guess what? Children think Roman Reigns is cool. And if he's cool, then he's a good guy. And that's the problem, is that you and I can sit here and know, absolutely, this guy is a heel. If he's not a heel, he's a tweener or whatever. But he's certainly not a babyface. But as long as you aggressively market him to children, then all of a sudden, like, okay, well, now what? You know what I mean? Like, Anna Bauert had, she wrote this thing for us about Sydney, and this mother who was sitting near her, who talked to a father, who were talking about how they had these 11-year-olds, these boys, who really love wrestling or whatever, and they said they're not allowed to be wrestling fans much longer because he doesn't want them growing up into the kind of a-hole 18-year-olds that we're seeing near them. Yeah. Because if your heroes are the guys who go on air and get to say bad words and say, bring your bitch ass back over here, I'm not done talking to you, all of a sudden, then you get molded into thinking that's the way you should be. I want to emulate that. And a lot of parents are going to say, nah, I'm sorry, I don't want that for my kid anymore.
You do not want your kid to grow up into somebody who goes on the air and says that they will send gorilla poop to to somebody else. That's not what you want to happen in life.
No. Yeah. So it's interesting. It is an interesting dilemma that you're going to market aggressively to kids, but the parents who watch with kids see what the kids are liking and say, I don't want my kid to like that. That's, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we'll see how this new thing of making the baby face into kind of an a-hole, how that's going to translate to children and their parents liking the product.
Reigns, Cena. I'm picking Reigns to win here. Who do you think?
Reigns. I mean, unless they have a program later planned out, they know they're going to do a rubber match or something. Well,
the thing is, Cena seems awfully confident on promos, and he's getting that Goldberg-esque type of attitude where he won't go on there and act in that manner unless he knows he's going to win type of thing, which is weird, but we have seen it. Bray Wyatt defeated Dustin Rhodes after an unpainted Dustin Rhodes went to Kurt Angle and asked for a shot. I believe this is the first Dustin Rhodes televised match since TNA Lockdown 05. Also, his first WWF televised Dustin Rhodes match since January 1991.
Wow.
Because the ones he did in 98 without the paint were as Dustin Runnels. So that's an interesting little fact. And he's a better worker in 2017 than he was in 95, which is amazing. After a brief ass-kicking from Dustin, Wyatt hit Sister Abigail for the win. Not a lot to talk about in the match. But there is something to talk about right after, Alex.
Yeah.
Sometimes on the list in your boy, we do story time with J.J. Dillon. We do Russo reveals. Mm-hmm. We do cutting to the chase with DDP.
Right.
What in the shit was Finn Balor doing on that Titantron?
I don't know.
What was he talking about?
I don't know. He was doing something. He was playing Bray Wyatt. That's what he was doing. He showed up on Titantron and said spooky stuff. I want to talk about Dustin Rhodes and how jarring it was to have Goldust standing with his back to the camera and then turn around and there was no face paint on him. And how that was
it adds 20 years.
Well, yes, it does. It makes him look every bit of however old he is, which is friggin' old. Because as we figured out on an earlier podcast, his debut was in 1988. So, like, this guy's been around for a long time. Now, obviously, this heel push after he turned on R-Truth went nowhere. They're not doing anything with it. So, if he's on his way out, one more run as babyface Dustin Rhodes could be a lot of fun.
I don't know, man.
The guy
who's like never, ever been over to any real degree as Dustin Rhodes.
Right. But this whole thing is I don't think it needs to last very long. But whatever they're doing with Goldust, it's aborted. It's gone. It's not. They're not using it anymore. So this is something like have him be this old brawler who's ready to go out and he's not going to go out without a fight. You could do that. It could be fun. I don't know. But, hey, they're talking about having him team with Cody at the new Starrcade.
Yeah. It's so funny. It's so funny. Yeah, I want to talk about that too. When I was growing up, like the people before me grew up watching Dusty Rhodes.
Right.
I grew up watching Goldust and Dustin Rhodes. I interviewed Flip Gordon of Ring of Honor a few weeks ago. He was like, shit, now that I think about it, I grew up watching Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
Which is weird. And Cody Rhodes is doing the best work of his life right now. Like, and it's not even close. Like, yeah. He is one of my favorite performers in the entire world, especially outside the ring. But Goldust is what Dustin Rhodes was to be. Now, if there was ever a time I think Dustin Rhodes would get over, it's right now. Let's talk a little bit about this. Well, first off, Balor, Bray Wyatt. I got Balor winning Sunday. Who do you have?
Yeah, unless, God forbid, they're going to extend this thing to another match. I don't know what that would be. It was Demon versus Spooky Dude last time. Now it's man versus man. If Finn doesn't win, I don't know what happens. This continues? No, thank you. Finn wins, please.
Starrcade in November, and Cody called him out for it. He's like, I know you all think tickets are going to do bad, but you can at least put Goldust on the show.
Right.
Well, you know what? The timing of this
Dustin
Rhodes deal, and Michael Hayes said, okay, we'll put you on it too.
Yeah.
And Goldust says, how about us against the Hardys? And I'm sitting here like with each tweet, and I'm like, this is escalating to a really fun degree. And then Cedric Alexander's like, hey, I'm from North Carolina too. Maybe put me on there. And the thing is, Cedric might help ticket sales in North Carolina because he wrestled locally a lot there. I would do it. I would switch the card around. It's weird that they just, bam, here's your card.
Right.
Shouldn't have done that, all things considered, because people want on this card. It is just another live event.
Right.
That's it. But, I mean, it's just another live event, but people want on it.
But once you say this is WWE Starrcade, the first one ever, in Greensboro, North Carolina, in the Coliseum, where the first one happened, all of a sudden it becomes like a historic event. And the people who you have working for you are nothing if not students of the business, and they know what this means. If they're not going to be on the card, they want to be at the event because you've said it's Starrcade. All of a sudden now you guys got to make this thing good. Otherwise, it's going to look like you're kind of crapping on Starrcade, which you did for like 25 years. So you know, this is a thing that could be really cool if you allow it to be.
I agree.
Already you got, I mean, it's a SmackDown live event with a bunch of SmackDown stuff on it, but the Hardys, who are from North Carolina, are advertised as appearing. So I say, like, make it joint. Make it as many people as you can from both sides. Make this thing a giant card.
I mean, I'm sure they're running another house show that night anyway. Just send some Raw guys over there and co-brand them. No big deal. I wish they would do this more often. This is a very unique way. I mean, they used to do that in the NWA. They used to brand it as like the Great American Bash Tour and stuff like that.
You know who else is from North Carolina? Braun Strowman. That'd be a lot of fun.
Speaking of, Braun beats the shit out of Enzo. I've been cursing a lot on this show, but they cursed a lot on Raw. So
that's true.
Crowd chants, thank you, Strowman. He bulldozed Enzo, and Enzo's facial expression was great. Like, say what you want about his stuff outside the screen. He does his job real well. In one motion, Braun lifts up Enzo off the ground and choke slams him, and Corey Graves' fear in his voice was just fascinating to hear.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you do when you run out of shit to tear up and you need to stay over? You beat up Enzo, and it works. Neville comes out, kind of sidesteps Braun. Yeah, that type of thing. Hits the red arrow and laughs. I would have preferred a more stoic laugh, as is tradition, but I liked all this. This was gotten backstage. In 30 seconds backstage, Enzo got himself over, got Braun Strowman over, and sold his match on Sunday. 30 seconds he did that.
Yep.
There was fantastic work for all involved.
Right. Enzo comes out and he's cutting his promo, and I'm so done with it. Like, I mean, he's doing great and the crowd loves him. I don't. Full disclosure, don't love him. Haven't for months. So I think he's doing very good work in with the role they're asking him to play. I just don't like the guy. So when Braun's roar hit and they focused close up of Enzo's face as he turned around and got completely trucked, I was just so happy. I was like, how worlds are colliding. Braun Strowman is beating up a cruiserweight that I hate. This is fun.
I can tell you all, I've met Enzo and talked to him several times, probably 2 or 3 different times. His eyes are always like that. Yeah. He just knows the right way to turn and make it all look. Yeah. Neville then beat Grand Metalik. We haven't seen much of Metalik on Raw, so it was a nice change of pace. Neville rips at Metalik's mask. Nice heel tactic. Metalik gets some good offense in, sells a boot off of a moonsault attempt as well as anybody. Submitted shortly after. I know that you're pretty high on Metalik, and man, he's so good in the ring. They just never put him on Raw until now.
That's the thing, is that the problem that you have with this now is that they've given up on the cruiserweights on Raw. It's just Neville occasionally, and the guy that they've determined over on 205 Live, the program nobody watches, as the person who's going to then later face Neville for the championship. So my thought is that I don't want to waste Neville in a match with Enzo where there's not going to be a lot of good back and forth wrestling. Like, even if you're going to say, okay, fine, my thing is they're probably going to put the damn title on Enzo and then, see what happens with that. But like, you have guys like Metalik and Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali. These are three great, amazing in-ring performers that haven't had a title program with Neville yet. And I think to myself, one of those guys needs to be in this match on No Mercy. You could have Enzo be the guy's manager and then make it all about himself and kind of get it over that way. But I understand that that Enzo is over. I understand that. But I have no interest in watching him wrestle at all.
But I mean, WWE and especially WCW have a rich history in making a joke of their lighter weight title. From Scotty 2 Hotty won it, and that was like, people were like, I mean, kind of. He was a heavyweight trapped in a cruiserweight's body.
Right.
Gilbert, the Chavo Classic, and the Hornswoggle and Jacqueline thing, which Jacqueline probably the most credible of those three at the time.
True.
I mean, at one point, your back-to-back WCW cruiserweight champions were Disco Inferno, Evan Courageous, who was a fine worker, nothing wrong with him, but he got beat by Medusa, who the way that she won was having Evan Courageous motorboat her into her pinning him.
Yeah, because
then she dropped the title.
It's a giant joke.
Ferrara is Oklahoma. So I mean,
this is how highly I think of Neville. When I watched Neville up on stage with Braun Strowman, I said, "Hot damn, I need to see that match once in my life."
Yeah,
because the Neville before the cruiserweight division didn't back down from anybody. And I think that could be, if there's one guy that small that could get Braun off his feet, it'd be Neville.
Yeah.
So that's how highly I think of him. And all these other high flyers in the cruiserweight division, they deserve one shot at a 15-minute match against Neville for that belt.
Sure. But the Cruiserweight Open Challenge would do great on Raw.
It really would.
And by the way, guys, I'm not crapping on Courageous or Medusa or Disco Inferno as workers. I was just saying, like, that was like 3 or 4 comedy angles back to back.
Right.
Who do you think's winning this match on Sunday?
Please God, let it be Neville. But they're building it up so it's going to be Enzo by cheating.
I would like for it to be Neville, but Enzo to put up a really good, valiant fight and show that he kind of belongs there, and that you can stretch it out by just Neville not laughing when all is said and done. That's all you got to do to stretch this out. Then we had the main event. Elias has a song interrupted. It's so original. I hate that he just has one name. The Drifter was such a cool nickname, and Elias is so repetitive.
Here's the thing. The Drifter, like drifters back in the day, were like these guys who would like hitchhike into town and like rape women and then hitchhike out,
Jesus Christ.
But I'm saying, like, that's what a drifter was in the parlance of people of Vince McMahon's era. And I think that he thinks, okay, we can't call him a drifter because that has bad connotations. But nobody thinks of what a drifter in those terms anymore. So it just feels weird that they like just got rid of that immediately and then said, yeah, well, also he shouldn't have a last name. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Jason Jordan trips coming up the stairs. Oof.
That was bad.
Commercial break at 10:53 Eastern that was led in by Jeff Hardy trying to roll up Matt as the
hey, you can't fault the guy for trying.
Hey, man.
I gotta give it a shot, right?
Worth a try, buddy. Get back in the ditch where you belong. Tower of Doom spot. We all saw that one coming. What I did not see coming is Elias jumping from the mat to the top rope.
Yes. Here's the thing. I want to see him do more of that. That was amazing. And then have it not lead into him immediately being pushed off the top rope. Like, what was his plan after that? That's what
That's
I
usually
want.
how it happened with Shelton too, though. Like Shelton would do it and then get eliminated from the Rumble because great psychology. Jeff Hardy almost kills Axel with a swanton. Jordan pins him. Jordan beats up Miz. The Miz Taraj attack, and Miz says that after Sunday, Jordan will still be a bastard.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Laying it in heavy. They got the bingo board of curse words tonight.
Yeah, they did. It's a thing. Like you have the heel be as heelish as possible, and therefore the babyface, by comparison, must be cheered. I do not know if this is ever going to fully work. It's too big of a leap for most of your fans to make. Because we all know that Jason Jordan isn't Kurt Angle's son. Like, that was such a giant hole to start in to try and dig your way out of. Like, there are other ways of making this monster push with Jason Jordan. Like, you could have easily said that Kurt Angle handpicks one guy. Like, Daniel Bryan says you can have one guy from SmackDown, and Kurt Angle says, I want Jason Jordan. Why? You can have anybody. I want Jason Jordan. And then the whole thing is like, why does he want him? Because he sees himself in him. You could be like a surrogate father as opposed to his biological father. And I think people would buy it a lot more. But this, like, it's just too big of a hill to climb for a lot of people.
Who's winning on Sunday? Jason Jordan or The Miz?
The Miz.
I think they're going to pull the trigger on Jordan, but it wouldn't surprise me to see if Miz won. Guys, I will talk about the NXT tapings that I attended tomorrow because we're running low on time now. But we do have WWE No Mercy coverage and discussion on Sunday. Come over there. Talk to us about the show. I'm going to join in, hang out, talk in between writing articles. And also, head over to those forums, guys. We have a prediction thread for No Mercy over there. We have the discussion of maybe floating champions, discussions of the GFW name change, a topic. Nicest guy on the indies. You all can talk about anything there. Come over there on Sundays, talk about football. Come over there, NBA opening night. We have an NBA thread. Saturday night or Saturday for college football. Anything you all want, we want to make it your destination. Also, we want to make Fightful.com in general your destination. Stories going up more timely than ever. If you haven't checked out the physical site in a while, it's looking real good. MMA, wrestling, boxing, all these things I have down here on this pretty little bar. Interviews, podcasts, forums, videos, photos, news. You can find at Fightful.com. Alex, where can they follow you on Twitter?
At Pawlowski the 4th.
You can follow me at Sean Ross Sapp. Follow us at Fightful Online. I'm going to make our Instagram more active than ever. And we want to interact with you. Hit us up on Twitter. Hit us up in the comments section, whether it's on YouTube or on Fightful.com itself. Send us questions. Send us feedback. Let us know what you like. Let us know if there are new content ideas that you want to see on Fightful, like new features, new reviews, new podcasts. Let us know about it. If there's somebody that you want to see, like on Wednesday on the List and Your Boy, tag them on Twitter and say, hey, get on the List and Your Boy. Get on Fightful.com. Until next time, guys, thank you so much for the support. We are out.